Hello and welcome to the show. This is episode 21 of the Life of Gaming podcast. My name is Jamie, and I'll be your captain on this cruise of video game awesomeness. And you all know my co-host, the arbiter to my Master Chief, Mr. Josh Brandt.
Hello, sir.
How are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good. At least you didn't put me as Cortana.
I thought about it.
Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing.
So what's going on, man? Anything new in your life this week?
No. There's two friends of mine, good friends, just started a new podcast, and I just want to try to get it out there. They just talk about. It's called Giant and Ginger. Okay. Because one guy is really tall and the other has red hair, of course. But they just discuss real life topics. They're really authentic, awesome guys. Cool. Make an interesting show. They actually have one episode about the zombie apocalypse, what they would do. They go over all these scenarios, and it's just, it's so awesome. Wow. I was like, oh yeah, I would do that. What weapon you would bring,
who would
what
you
kind
leave
of
behind
car
to die?
or vehicle.
Josh, check, we're good.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't last very long. Right. No doubt.
Oh, dude, that's hilarious. Well, you guys know it's not just me and Josh. The Cortana of our group, my brother-in-law, Matt. How you doing, lady man?
You made me the woman? What?
There you go.
Hey, you're the AI. You have, complete control over everything. That's not too bad.
Still, I'd rather be a dude.
Sure.
Well, dude AIs in the universe, I think.
So how you doing tonight, man? Anything interesting going on? Anything new and exciting in your life?
Oh, not too much. Just kind of set myself down, getting ready for school in a couple weeks.
Boring.
Playing some games here and there. Rare Replay this week.
Oh, yes.
And Gamescom this week, which we'll talk about.
Yep, been playing that.
Oh, yeah.
It's good stuff.
Lots of good stuff. But yeah, other than that, just kind of hanging out.
Awesome. And you guys know, with our summer game series, we've been bringing a guest on every time. And this time, we're actually bringing back a guest. It will be his third time, so our third timer on the show.
Wow.
Corey from Digital Nerd Advocate. Corey, how you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, man.
I'm so glad you guys brought me on before Bobby this time. Like the last two times you had me on before or right after him, both times. So
that's true.
I'm on before you this third time, Bobby, so you can suck it.
Oh man, Bobby gets
kidding,
so
Bobby,
much.
You know I love you.
So much more. It's so funny because last time Rob did that, and now there's this feud going on Twitter between Rob and Bobby.
I know. I've been
Bobby's
reading
coming for you now.
You have the wrath of the geek guru coming after you now.
Oh, bring it on, Bobby.
Right. Well, as you guys know, we're in the middle of our summer game series, and today we'll be talking about Halo. But before we get into that, we're going to get into our news section and what we like to call Captain's Log. Well, Gamescom has been going on this week, and there's just so much information from that. I mean, it's mostly Xbox, EA, and things like that. So I guess before we get into all of that stuff, I'll just real quickly hit some PlayStation, Nintendo stuff. With PlayStation, I don't know if you saw this or not, Brent. Sony's actually announced a special PlayStation projector. Did you see this thing that's coming out? It's coming out in October, and it's going to cost $350. Now, they say it's a little projector you can take with you. You can plug it in your PS3 so you can, shoot it up on any wall. And I guess even if your wall is, slanted or has, stuff in it so it doesn't make the image look flat, there's, technology in the projector to make it look smooth, which is actually pretty cool.
I was looking at the specs for it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really... I was hoping to be in that 150, 200 range because the specs aren't really that impressive for, any other projectors that you want to get the highest resolution from.
Yeah.
This one doesn't have that type of display, so I'm sort of puzzled by... And I think it only plays on the PS4, too. It'd be nice if it was, universal with that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. It's only the PS4, huh?
I think so. I'd have to double check. But
I saw it actually has a kickstand on it, so it can, shoot straight up at your ceiling. So I think it's made so, you can lay in bed and just play games on your ceiling.
That would be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And Matt, your parents' place, that projector they have.
Oh yeah,
play PlayStation
pretty
games.
Slick. We actually did. I think a couple summers ago we were outside and they had their screen hooked up. We were on the side of the garage and I was playing Mario Kart. That was fun.
That's awesome. Gaming outside.
Yeah.
Well, Corey, do you have any interest in this projector at all? Just curious. I mean, 'cause I know you enjoy your PS4. Is this something that you would actually want? Do you see this being something that consumers will actually buy, or is this going to be kind of like the PlayStation TV and these other things they've come out with that have just kind of, gone by the wayside?
I mean, it's interesting. If you have a giant wall that you don't have anything on, I guess it's okay. But I mean, TVs are kind of getting down to where they're almost affordable again to the normal person. So like,
sure.
For people that don't have TVs or want to, I guess, play outside, like on their garage door or on the side of their house or something, I guess it would be cool. But I mean, I'm not really that interested in it. I have a okay TV that I play my games on. So
sure.
I mean, I don't know who this is for, really. I mean,
it caters to a very specific crowd.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's very strange. Like Brant was saying, if it was like $150, $100, like that sweet spot, I mean, maybe they could go for like a younger audience. But I mean, it's $350. It's they says not HD. It's not full HD.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's 720p. It's so like $350 for this thing is kind of ridiculous.
Seems a little outrageous. So I mean, honestly, it'll probably drop in price pretty fast and end up in the bargain bin and get a
PlayStation TV.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So, oh well. But the other thing with PlayStation news, they've come out and they said that it will be. Well, they said it's very likely that more PlayStation 3 remasters are on the way. So I'm not sure what they're going to do. I think I heard somewhere like Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls and some of those other games are actually going to be
good ones.
Getting remastered, because there are a lot of games that people jump from PS3 or jump from Xbox 360 to PS4. There's a lot of games they haven't played. So I mean,
you could do like the Resistance trilogy.
That would be awesome.
Like, since I never played 3, I played 1 and 2, but
3 wasn't
awesome. At the end of 3, it's still kind of open for possibly a new game with a new character, right?
Yeah, I mean, they totally could.
Yeah, so you could do that, and maybe, like, you never know, maybe Sucker Punch is, after they got done with Sunset Overdrive, maybe they're working on Resistance 4. You never know. Like, I don't know, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I mean,
Infamous 1 and 2.
Sure. And with do you think a part of that though, Brant, has to do with Xbox 360 not Xbox 360, Xbox One, because it got Xbox 360 backwards compatibility, that Sony's trying to kind of fight that in a way by making all these remasters to say, hey, we have backward games too.
Yeah, I mean, they're so far ahead in sales, like, the numbers are ridiculous.
Exactly.
And I feel like they're not panicking yet about anything. They're just going to let things run their course. They still have, the big AAA games coming out for both systems, but they still got those. They still have some good, nothing on the caliber of Xbox One, but they still have good titles coming out that are exclusive. So I think they're just testing the water.
Sure.
And maybe if things start to change, they can sort of maybe change things around with PlayStation Now to be more user-friendly.
And that's actually coming to Vita now, too, right?
Yeah, they're all in with that, and they don't want to change their trajectory yet. Mm-hmm. And they're still selling like gangbusters.
Absolutely. Because last episode we said it's like, 25 million units sold? I mean, they're way ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, I don't even know where Xbox One is.
Sure. All I know, they said it's outselling where the Xbox 360 was at this point in time. It's still like every month outpacing what the 360 did. So as long as it's better than the past generation, I mean, it's still doing okay. I don't think it'll ever catch up to PS4 though. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Time will tell.
We're pretty early.
Xbox
we're like 2
is
years
doing
in.
everything right now, though.
Yep. Yeah, now that Phil Spencer took over, so we'll see.
And as the last few generations proved, usually by the end, when price cuts come in, everything evens out. Because like the PS3, by the end of last gen, of the last couple of years, it like basically caught up, and people. That's kind of during the time where people were really starting to change their mentality towards PlayStation, because they were all of a sudden like, hey, I never played any of these great exclusives before, and now I can. And then the PS4 came out and had all that hype, and then the fall of the Xbox, and
I saw an interesting stat that like Journey was like the highest selling game
on
for
PS4.
The PS4. Yeah, and I mean, you wouldn't think that, because a lot of people got it through PS Plus, but a lot of those people also probably didn't play it the first time around, so they probably did pay the money to buy it.
Yeah. That's a great game.
I thought Journey was if you already had it on PS3, it was a free upgrade to PS4, right?
Right.
Yeah,
and that's what's fascinating about it, is
why
that
people are buying
this is sales,
Sure. Huh.
So a lot of people wanted to see what the hype was about, I'm guessing.
I mean, honestly, Journey is a great game. I really enjoyed it. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's an experience that everyone should take a part in if they can.
Well, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
To go back...
I mean, I played it. I played it recently with my son watching, and he was like mesmerized. He'll get mesmerized by like Plants vs. Zombies and stuff like that just because it's fun. But this was just like beauty. I mean, it's great. Such a great game.
Well, to get back to our very first Summer Games episode, we talked about Uncharted. And, we kind of talked about the Uncharted movie and what we'd want out of it and how it's kind of fallen apart. Well, Sony came out and said the Uncharted movie now is planned to release summer 2017. So that's on the way. We'll see if they still hold to that because, as we talked about, a few episodes back, it's had a very bumpy road. So we'll see. You never know.
Yeah, and 2017 still means that they still have yet to get they may be close to a full script, but they still have yet to get a cast and a director and stuff like that.
Sure. And hey, Corey, because you weren't on that episode a while back, what do you think about an Uncharted movie? Is that something you'd actually be excited to see?
If they did it right, I mean, Indiana Jones, that trilogy is like my favorite movie franchise of all time. We're not counting Crystal Skull because it was garbage, but I think...
No one counts Crystal Skull, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know. Like, I think I used that disc as a coaster while I was watching the other three movies, to be quite honest with you. But
good use.
Like, if they did it right and they got the right people, I think it could be good. I just, video game movies tend to not turn out so great. I mean, I remember the episode you guys were talking about video game movies with Alan, and like, I remember some of those movies when I was younger being fun while I was young, but if you go back and look at them, they're just kind of garbage movies. And like, I feel like it's going to fall into that same trap. They're going to try to copy the movie or the game series bit by bit, and that's not what they need to do. I think they need to tell their own story and just be its own thing.
Sure.
But, I mean, the characters are fun, and if they could get the right people to play those characters, I think it could be fun. But I'm still afraid it's going to fall into that trap that video game movies usually fall into.
So, I mean, it kind of needs to do what Resident Evil did. Because Resident Evil sort of took some of the main characters and then just made its own storyline. And now, they're about to have number, 5 or 6, I think, come out?
6, I think.
There's a lot of those movies.
That lasted so long.
I know, and I think it's the last one now. So, but still, that's a lot of movies. That's the most successful video game movie franchise. So, and they, like you said, Corey, they just kind of took the general idea and then just totally mixed it up and changed it. So maybe Uncharted could do that. Oh, by the way, speaking of... No, go ahead.
For Resident Evil, after that first movie, they kind of didn't take it so seriously. Like, that first movie kind of took itself seriously, but then afterwards, they kind of had fun with it and realized what that movie franchise was, and they just... I think that's why it's lasted so long, to be quite honest with you, is because it's not taking itself too seriously and just taking concepts and just applying it. But man, those movies are funny though. Like, if you go back and watch the first one, the animation is just so bad.
It's so dreadful. Yeah. The liquor when it's on the ceiling.
But actually, speaking of Indiana Jones real quick, what do you think about the Chris Pratt rumors of Indiana Jones? Just curious.
I like it. I mean, if anybody's going to do it, I think the original rumor that came out was Bradley Cooper, and I think I think maybe he would do a better job, just because I think he would fit the role better. But, I mean, I wouldn't mind Chris Pratt at all. I think he's an awesome actor. I think he would do great, especially after Jurassic World.
Sure.
I mean,
he's the can-do-it-all actor. Like, he's good in any role.
And they've got a Jurassic World sequel coming, so I think that's coming 2017 as well. So, but actually, to get us back on track with our video game news here, Nintendo. I know I talk about this game every episode just because it's that amazing, but Splatoon just had their amazing big update come out on Wednesday. So just a few days back, pretty much it added a bunch of new battle modes. You can do like private battles with your friends now. It increased the level cap from 20 to 50. It added 40 new pieces of gear. It added 2 new weapons. One is like a Gatling gun. It's called the Splatling gun. And then they have another one. I think it's called the Slosher, and it's like a giant paint bucket you throw. They added new music to all the stages, and they took the stage Urchin Underpass and totally revamped it. So I haven't played it since the update. I'm actually thinking about hopping in tonight because Splatfest is going on now. And right now, it ends tomorrow at midnight, so Saturday at midnight. It is hot dogs versus marshmallows are the choices this week. Which would you rather roast over fire? So, if you're into Nintendo, you're into Splatoon, you got to check it out because that game is amazing. It's getting better every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, what that game has turned into, it's one of the best online arena games this year, and I'm sure a few months from now, it's even going to just improve from where it's at now. And if you have a kid who's 10 and under, it's like the perfect arena game for him.
Sure,
it's amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to play that with Eli.
I'm still having fun with it. I think Nintendo's doing such I was so worried at the beginning when this came out and Nintendo was going to slowly roll out this content, but I mean, they got me every time they roll out content. I end up popping it back in my Wii U just to check it out and. It's smart. It's really smart. And I'm curious when this quote unquote free content rollout is going to end, because every time they update it or add something, I'm right back in.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I can't stop playing that game because just being 3-minute matches, you can hop on, play one match and get out. Or at the same time, you can hop on and play for hours. It's just very addictive.
Yeah.
But real quick to talk about Gamescom. There's a lot of news for Gamescom, so I guess I'll just kind of rattle a lot of this off. If you guys want to stop, talk about something, go ahead. The first thing, I'll just kind of go through Microsoft's real quick. The first thing, what Microsoft did, they started off with Quantum Break. We knew Quantum Break, Scalebound, and Crackdown were all going to be here, and we got a lot of news on that. With Quantum Break, they came out and said that the game's coming out April 5th, 2016. They also announced that the entire cast of the game was completely recast. A lot of people think this is why it was delayed, because if you remember, it's like the main game, and then in between chapters, it's like a TV show, and they completely recast the entire thing and reshot everything.
The main guy is now
it's Sean
guy
Ashmore.
Iceman.
Yep, yeah, Sean Ashmore from X-Men, which is pretty cool. And I guess it also has Dominic Monaghan from Lost. It's got what was it? Aidan Gillen from Game of Thrones. They've actually got a pretty good cast. A lot of people think Microsoft probably went back and said, hey, this game looks great. We really want to give it a bigger push. It needs more star power. Here's more money. Go redo it all. And maybe who knows? Maybe that's why it got delayed, because Microsoft's really starting to see this as a big release, because it's coming out in April. So.
Yeah, it's the first of its kind. There's always been games that have had TV shows. We talked about Assassin's Creed last week, who had that TV show before Assassin's Creed 2 or miniseries, and they come out with these. But this is the first time I've ever heard of a game that really integrates the story of the game into an actual full-on, acted out TV show setting. And I guess it's in between the chapters is what.
Yeah, it's in between. It's going to be the villain side of the story. So pretty much the choices you make in the game, they've shot multiple versions of each quote-unquote episode between chapters. And so what you do in the game and the choices you make actually change the way the episodes play out. So I can't imagine how much they had to film, but it's going to be pretty cool. It'll be pretty exciting.
They've probably been working on it since Alan Wake, or that little sequel thing they did. So
Sure. Brant, just from a PlayStation side, what do you think of Quantum Break? Do you think this looks like a pretty cool game, or is this not even on your radar?
It's an interesting experiment. I'm worried that they might be getting a little overambitious with this, and that things won't go according to plan, as in getting the players, and then you want the TV people who want to watch it, and then people that don't care about watching it on TV that want to just play it. So they might just be crossing too many lines there. But it's very intriguing premise. Mm-hmm. It really has to hit on the story side for it to be successful. So that's another big question mark. But if everything pans out, I can see it being huge. But I'm sort of being pessimistic with it. I don't think it's really going to be that good.
I'm in the same boat as you, Brant. It looks interesting. There was a game on Xbox 360 and PS3 that did that, and there was a sci-fi show connected to it. I forget what it was called. I really forget what it was called, but they tried to do the same thing, and they canceled the TV show after season 2.
Defiance?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, I remember that now.
And so, this kind of sounds like that's what they're trying to do, but I don't know, mixing TV and games kind of worries me. Like, I don't know. I feel like you see this problem already in adventure games a little bit, like Telltale. Like some of your decisions look like they're going to matter, and then they end up not mattering a little bit.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, I wasn't interested in Quantum Break really at all, except that, you know, I loved Alan Wake. But, man, this Gamescom trailer really has me more intrigued to see if it's any good.
Yeah, I would say if there's any studio that could pull it off, it would be these guys, because if you played Alan Wake, it's basically set up like a story. Like Alan Wake had, was it 6 chapters or something like that really played out like mini episodes in how you did it.
Yeah.
It really did. And so they designed their story. Whoever does their story writing there is really good, and they design it with that kind of intent. And that was reflected in Alan Wake. So I think they could pull it off. Whether or not it's actually going to be great, I don't think it's going to sell like Microsoft hopes, because Alan Wake didn't. It's going to be kind of like, any great title we can think of. Heavy Rain, sold okay, but not really that much. It was like 1 million or something. I don't know the actual numbers, but it was a great game and a great experience. I think it's going to be a great experience, and I'm excited to play it, but I don't think it'll be like drive up sales.
Sure. One thing I hope they do with Quantum Break, they include like a digital copy of Alan Wake with it. Because one thing that Microsoft is starting to do, like if you buy Gears Remastered, you get the entire Gears collection, including Judgment, for free. You get they're not remastered, it's a 360 version because of the backwards compatibility. They also, with Just Cause 3, if you buy Just Cause 3, you get Just Cause 2 for free. So a lot of these games released now, these big releases, you're getting something free included with it. Some people think it's rumored that with Halo 5 we might get, Reach is the one we don't have yet, right?
Yeah, Reach.
So, I mean, these things are kind of rumored, and it's really smart for Microsoft because it doesn't really cost them a lot. They're just opening the backwards compatibility, for older games. So who knows? They can keep doing it. But to get on with Gamescom, after that, talked about Crackdown. Since Gamescom, they said it's coming out summer 2016. And the big announcement with Crackdown is that the entire city is going to be destructible, 100% destructible, and it's because of the cloud. They've always talked about this cloud computing and all that it can do, although they did say the 100% destructibility is only in the multiplayer. They said the single player, they won't do that because you won't be able to play it online, offline, but that's still pretty impressive for multiplayer. I mean, you can destroy pretty much anything you want. That was the big thing for Crackdown.
That, and in single player, if you destroyed the city, then
you can't
in the
actually
first
do the
chapter,
story.
Everybody would, everybody would around just destroy the city, and then they wouldn't be able to play the story.
Right.
No, but that does sound really cool, and it looked pretty awesome what they were showing, and that's why I can tell it didn't look graphically as amazing as some other games. It's got that cartoony look that the original Crackdown had, but I think that's because they're going for more what you can do in the game.
Sure. Corey, were you a Crackdown fan at all? Because honestly, I've never played through either Crackdown game. I played bits and pieces of the first one with Matt, but that's about it for me.
I'm going to be quite honest with you. I bought Crackdown 1 because of the Halo 3 beta.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and
a lot of people did.
Me and my friend Brian, who does shows with us now, and his brother David, we all went to Best Buy one day and just bought the Crackdown to get the Halo 3 beta, and then after the Halo 3 beta was over, we were like, oh, I guess we could play this game now. And then I ended up playing through the whole thing and loving it. I thought, like, there is some problems with it, but I really enjoyed, like, getting the orbs and being able to jump super high, and the driving was pretty decent. I really liked it.
Now, I don't know if you guys heard about Crackdown 3, but they hired Sumo Digital to handle all driving aspects in Crackdown 3. That's the same team that handled like the Sega All-Star Racing games.
Oh, wow.
So that might mean maybe there's going to be a little bit more driving in this one than the previous ones, because they actually hired an outside team to handle all the driving mechanics. That's actually pretty cool.
Huh.
That Sonic racing game was actually really good. I bought it with my Wii U.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But honestly,
good times there.
I don't see Crackdown as being a system seller. I think Crackdown is one of those games where if you have an Xbox and you need something to play, sure, pick it up. But like Brant, someone like you, I don't see Crackdown even showing up on your radar at all. I just think you see it as kind of like an exclusive filler game that you don't really see much about.
I'm burnt out on open world games, to be honest. But this, I think the news coming out of this is very positive. What they're trying to do is really awesome, like separating it from other open world games, making it more superhero-like and, fully destructible environments. I mean, no other really open world game has done that because they have to put all their resources into tightening the whole, making everything feel right. So if they can pull that off, this will be pretty huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading some articles online about Crackdown and so forth, and obviously the same PlayStation versus Xbox stuff is just loaded in the comments. But one guy had a comment that was really smart, and I actually, and now that I talk about these games and stuff, that's kind of the way I believe. I think Microsoft is smarter this generation to understand that they're not going to race and catch PlayStation in sales. They're just not. And they're not going to recapture the audience they had with 360 who wants to play the multi-plat shooters and all that kind of stuff.
They're all going to PlayStation, yeah.
But what Phil Spencer said, and what I agree with, they're building up first-party games so that in the future they have this back catalog. Because, like, the last generation, PS3 was behind pretty much the whole time. So they came out with Uncharted, they came out with Resistance, they came out with Infamous, they came out with these games. And now those games have a history, and people who went to the PS4 this round, they're like, oh, it's because last gen we saw them make all these great games, so we know they'll make them this time. Xbox is kind of doing that this time. They're coming out with their great, like, really interesting. Some of them will hit, some of them won't, but they'll be really interesting and diverse. Relatively, they still got to get outside of shooters and stuff. But games that are first party that in the future they could go back to draw an audience for the next gen.
Sure.
And I think that's pretty smart.
And speaking of first party exclusives, the next game they talked about was Scalebound. Now, Scalebound is something I've been excited for just based on one thing, and that's Platinum Games is making it. But we didn't really know much else about it. And now they finally showed off the first bit of gameplay for it, and they said it's coming out holiday 2016. So that'll come out sometime the end of next year. I mean, honestly, right now for next year, Xbox's lineup. I think I was talking to you about this, Matt. I think I might have talked to you about it as well, Corey. Like, it's crazy because, I mean, next year we've got, Scalebound and Crackdown and Quantum Break, but then we also have, the new Gears game is coming out, and we've got,
Is Recore coming, or is that pushed to 2017?
Phil Spencer said that he clarified it is a 2016 game. Now, I know, Brant, you were saying it probably won't be, and honestly, it might get delayed, but they're saying now, as of right now, it's a 2016 game. So, I mean, and I think they said there's another Forza Horizon on the way. Like, there's just so many games, and there's Cuphead on the way, and all these great games for next year. Right now, I think we're in the pinnacle of this generation. We're gonna have probably a 2-3 year span of just amazing games on PlayStation and Xbox. So it's gonna be really nice. But Scalebound right now, what it is, I thought from the original trailer, I thought it was gonna be something like Monster Hunter or something like that, doing something really weird. But what it is, it's gonna be an action RPG. And the main hook of the game, you're actually a guy from the present, and they didn't say how he gets kind of teleported to wherever he is now in this world of knights and dragons. But the main hook of the game is you have your dragon with you. You can kind of command it and tell it what to do and have it fight enemies for you and things like that. So it's a super fast, action-paced game, because pretty much, as you know, with most Platinum games, they're super fast. They have that techno music, because in the gameplay, as soon as the guy took his headphones and put them on and that music kicked in, I'm like, yeah, this is a Platinum game. Because it just felt like it, because that dubstep, techno, whatever you want to call it, it kicked in, and he's fighting these knights with his sword, and the dragon stomping on people and blowing fire on people, and it was nuts. And it looks awesome.
Yeah, that one looks like a lot of fun.
Brandon, did you get to see any of the footage for that?
No, I didn't watch any. But dude, all the press has been positive.
You should totally go watch it just to see how crazy it is, because it's just Platinum Games being Platinum Games.
Yeah.
And it's not like a JRPG or anything, but that's one game, Brant, that I think you might even have more interest in than you would your stereotypical Halo shooter or anything. It actually is. Sure. Even along your lines, I think.
That and Recore
it's worth looking into.
Are definitely two games that I wish I could have an Xbox One to possibly play, but it's not in the cards.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's why you come over to my place and play it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to make the investment.
That or Splatoon.
Right. That's true. Well, you played Splatoon once, so
Yeah. Not my fault.
But the other thing that they talked about functionality of the Xbox One, because when the Xbox One originally came out, they said Xbox One is going to be your all-in-one device, and that's kind of where the One and the Xbox One came from. And since then, they got rid of a lot of that stuff. But in November, they're adding Windows 10. And another function they're going to add, they're actually going to add DVR functionality to the Xbox One, which is pretty cool because they said it can record over-the-air programs on your Xbox One, even when it's off, as long as it's in standby mode. It can record your shows for you. And the only thing that limits it is the size of your hard drive. And the cool thing with it, you can stream anything you record to any Windows 10 device, which is awesome. They did come out and say there are a couple things that are like kind of iffy about it. Because I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I can't wait to record some shows. They said it won't use cable. Like if you have cable to satellite, won't work because of the coding issues. It won't let you do it. It only does over-the-air antennas. But to get the antenna to work in your Xbox, you have to go out and buy a special USB adapter that plugs into the side of your Xbox. You can screw the antenna into it, and it decodes that signal to show on your Xbox. That adapter is like, I think $50 or $60, I believe. I might be wrong on that. It's somewhere around there. They also said the other thing, you have to have a hard drive designated to it. So you have to have an external hard drive that's only for DVRs because they said the way it's set up, you can't cross your games and your video stuff. So if you want to be able to DVR anything, you can't record it on the actual Xbox itself. And like right now, I've got an external hard drive plugged into mine I'm playing games off of. Well, I can't use it on that because there's already games on it. I would have to buy another external hard drive, but you can hook up 2 external hard drives to the thing. But it's just like the price of this is just adding up because another hard drive would be like another $60-$70. And so I'd be spending like $120 just to get this to work.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Right. That sounds way too complicated just to watch some TV shows.
Sure. I mean, but if you already have like an antenna tuner for your computer, like one of those USB ones for your computer, and you already have that, if you already have an external hard drive laying around, because I know some people, they have quite a few of them, you can put almost any size hard drive you want into it. And if you already have the stuff laying around, the option is there. But originally I was pretty excited about it. And then when I heard about all those little details, I'm like, probably not.
I actually kind of like how it uses antenna though, because I'm not a cable person. I'm never going to pay for it. Yep. And all I have is antenna. And that part's pretty nice, but I get a terrible signal out here. So it wouldn't work anywhere.
Exactly. Same here. So, but what can you do?
Yeah.
They ended, they had some other small announcements in there, like Battletoads are coming to Killer Instinct. And they showed off some more indie games and things like that. But they ended the show with a pretty big bombshell no one was expecting. And actually it fits pretty well with our topic of the week. We didn't plan this, but it works out pretty well. They announced Halo Wars 2. Nobody saw that coming. Woo. So, Corey, are you a Halo Wars guy? Are you pretty excited for this?
I loved Halo Wars. It might be my favorite Halo game. When I was between the ages of like 8 and 16, I was obsessed with games like Age of Empires and StarCraft and Warcraft. Like RTS was my favorite genre. And then I started my PC couldn't handle it. So I ended up switching to consoles, and that's when I ended up getting like N64 and then my Dreamcast and PS2. But they never seemed to get RTS to work right on console until Halo Wars. And I can't tell you how many times I played through that campaign, played online with friends, and like Ensemble Studios was the studio behind Age of Empires, so it played almost just like that, a simplified version of that. I'm so happy that Halo Wars 2 got announced, and it's Creative Assembly, which is like the next best RTS creator outside of Ensemble. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I know you can't see me right now, but I'm dancing in my chair right now talking to you guys. I'm so excited.
Oh, it's hilarious. And Brant, I know you had a 360 for a while. Did Halo Wars come out when you had your 360? Did you ever get a chance to play it?
No, I never got a chance to play it, but like Corey said, it was a highly reviewed game, really popular, and I'm surprised it took a while for them to announce this, but yeah, the timing's right. Another exclusive to add.
I wasn't expecting it this soon. Like, they teased it in the background of that Phantom Dust trailer last year.
Did they really?
They had a Halo Wars poster in the background of that trailer.
Really?
I did not know that.
So I was like, okay, Halo Wars is coming, but not anytime soon. I thought it would be like a 2017 game, but man, I was so surprised that they announced it this early.
So what you're saying is Phantom Dust was just a Trojan horse.
Absolutely.
That's all it was. They said, we're doing Phantom Dust, and they're like tricking people and thinking it was coming. But to get out of all this Microsoft stuff, so Brant, you had your time to sleep, you took your nap, you're good.
I'm good now. Thanks, guys. Now we'll just get to that Halo talk, and I'll be sleeping like a baby.
Well, actually, EA also had a Gamescom conference. And they talked about quite a few things. Star Wars Battlefront. I know you're pumped about this, Brant. Super excited. Oh, yeah. They actually showed off a new mode called Fight Squadron. And it's going to be all like space battles. And they showed off the X-Wing, TIE Fighters. You could be the Millennium Falcon. You can be the Slave One. It's just like more... Because people were wondering where the space battles were. I know in the old Star Wars games, like Rogue Squadron and things like that, space battles were awesome. So hopefully it turns out pretty well. I mean, Brant, I know this is still on your, like, super hype, excited list, right?
Oh, yeah. After those E3 trailers, demos they showed, that, yeah, it looks amazing. Looks like it plays amazing. Star Wars, I mean, what can you say? There aren't too many good Star Wars games. You know, Knights of the Old Republic being one of the best.
What, Shadow of the Empire?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Dash Rendar.
Dash Rendar, that's right.
Yes. But yeah, there's actually, going on Knights of the Old Republic, there was actually a rumor that they might be remaking it again.
I heard about that. Yeah, I did hear
so
that.
Awesome.
If they remaster it.
That would be worth playing again if they do that. But anyway, Battlefront, yeah, I couldn't be more excited for this. And yeah, I can't wait.
It really looks like they're taking their time and really paying attention to detail, especially from the original trilogy, like the sound effects and even the sparks from the blasters and stuff. It just really looks like they're taking their time and paying attention to detail and really creating some fan service. In the dogfighting stuff, it looks like the Rogue Squadron game I always wanted and never got.
Should be a good game. Should be awesome.
Didn't they say it was like 20 players involved in that or something like that?
For multiplayer? I have no idea.
The battles, like, and then, yeah, it was like 20 players and then 20 more that were AI, which is
crazy.
You know, pretty big for, which I thought was cool. I thought it looked awesome, and I actually liked it because I didn't know a lot of what was going on. I still kind of thought this Battlefront was going to be like the original two Star Wars Battlefronts, where you just kind of fought a battle and then you had fun with it and then you went on. From what I understand, it's like there's several different battles going on the same planet, and that's why they only have a few planets in the game. The last I remember, it's only going to be like 4. But there's like different locations, and these planets are actually huge. Yeah. And you fight battles in different places on them, and whether it's on the ground or in the air. And that's what the different modes are for, which I think is awesome.
Sure. I mean, it should be a pretty good game. I mean, I know that's pretty hyped up by a lot of people, so hopefully it turns out pretty well.
Yeah, I'm really hoping they don't screw up the online infrastructure.
Right, that would be a problem.
Yeah, we do not need that with all the broken games.
But speaking of awesome battle games, the other game they talked about, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2. With that one, you know, they showed off some new footage. They showed off some new characters. Like, one was like this giant corn on the cob with like this giant like Gatling gun type deal. But the other thing they announced, they're going to have a special Mass Effect character called Grass Effect. And this character's gonna have like N7 armor and all this stuff. The only way you can get it though is if you pre-order the game. So they're kind of like hiding him as like special content. But I thought that was pretty funny, right? You know, Grass Effect. You know, so they're getting everyone ready for next year. You know, I think. Wait, is Mass Effect next year or the year after? I can't remember.
I think it's 2017.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. They got to keep that hype ball rolling, right? I mean, they can't let it stop. The other thing they talked about, they showed off some Mirror's Edge stuff. I'm pretty excited about that. It was just another trailer. It still said pre-alpha footage in the bottom corner, but I mean, the game already looks great. It looks exactly like the old stuff, just, you know, remastered. That's coming out in February, and honestly, right now, I'm so hyped for that game. I have been for a while, so hopefully it doesn't disappoint me. We'll see. You never know. After that, I can't remember if this was at EA. I think this was like after all the EA stuff was done. I mean, they also announced other things like an expansion for Sims 4 and a bunch of other stuff we're not going to get into. But after that, 2K, that's what it is. 2K announced Mafia 3. They showed off some new information for that. It's going to be set in 1968 New Orleans. And you're going to play as, I believe his name was Lincoln Clay. He's this the way they described him, they said he was half white, half black orphan who is also a Vietnam War hero, and he's got like PTSD. So
they're trying to appeal to every demographic,
right? so what happens? He's this Vietnam War hero coming back. He has no family, so his family, quote unquote, is this mob. At the beginning of the game, I guess he gets shot in the head and left for dead. So the whole thing is kind of like a revenge story of him coming back, trying to wipe out this rival gang. And you can get what are called lieutenants from these other gangs to join your team. They give you like perks and stuff. So you're trying to build the ultimate gang, in New Orleans. So they changed the time period a little bit, because before it was like we were talking about last time. It was like the mafia pinstripe suit, guys with slick back hair. That it was like that setting, and now they've gone into the future. So I don't know if people will like that or not. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Right. The only other big news that came out this week. Corey, you're a pretty big Destiny player. I know you actually have a weekly Destiny podcast. Is that correct, sir?
That is true. DNA Weekly Strike goes up every Thursday morning.
Awesome. Well, you probably heard about the Peter Dinklage news then, right?
I did, and I cannot tell you how happy I am, because he is just the most boring character actor I've ever heard in my life. And I know people love him on Game of Thrones, and he was actually a pretty intriguing villain in the last X-Men movie, but
sure.
Oh my gosh, it's just like...
And you loved him in Pixels, right?
I did. Please. I haven't even seen that movie. A lot of people are telling me that movie isn't really as bad as all the reviews are saying.
I don't know, man.
That's what I'm hearing too,
see.
but I haven't seen it.
What these guys are talking about in Destiny, they have new DLC coming out. It's called what? The Taken King? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And what they had Nolan North come in and do the voice of Ghost for this DLC. And they said he did such a good job, and they wanted everything to be cohesive and like all this to kind of tie together. And they said, you know what? We want Nolan North to be the ghost that wakes you up at the beginning of the game. So they had him go back and re-record every single line in the game. I guess they added some additional lines as well. They kind of changed the story a little bit. And they said they've changed the upgrade system. Like, they've changed a lot of stuff in Destiny since it's released. So it's barely the same game, right, Corey?
It's the same game, but through the story missions, there weren't a lot of like context. You got these things called Grimoire cards where you had to go to Bungie.net and sign in and create a profile to read these Grimoire cards that you collected to fill in the backstory. But now they're adding like cutscenes and different story elements throughout the mission to give you more background on the characters that are in the game already, which were kind of paper thin unless you read these Grimoire cards. Like the Speaker and the Ghost is getting a more intriguing backstory, and the Guardians are getting a more laid out path for their story. It's just, I think this is what they needed to do at the beginning when they first released, when everybody was saying this lacks so much content and the story's not there. Like, sure. This is like, I'm actually going to go back and start a second character when the Taken King comes out just to experience the story again, because when I was playing through the story of Destiny, I was just playing through the missions and doing what it told me to do, and there was maybe 4 cutscenes. There's this character that they don't even tell you who this person is until the very last mission of the game. Yeah. And wow. And when you get to the final mission, like, it's a boss battle just like any other boss battle you had in the game, but it's very anticlimactic, and then the story's just over.
Yeah.
Like, it was very disappointing. But that said, I know this is a 10-year game, and like the additions that they've made, especially with House of Wolves and now the Taken King, really look to improve this, and I'm really excited. I'm actually really excited to go back and play the story again.
No, would this be a good...
Corey,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Corey, I remember years ago when they first announced they were doing Destiny, like in 2011, I was excited because I love Halo and I like Bungie and everything. But they said at the time it was going to be like they released the first one, and then they have an off year where they have like DLC or something like that. Then they released Destiny 2, and then another off year, and they had planned like 4 games over the course of like 7 years. Yeah. Now, are they changing that now, and it's just going to be Destiny, and they add DLC the whole time?
Well, there was a rumor that came out around the same time that they announced the Taken King and started releasing info on that Destiny 2 is actually coming out next September.
Okay, so it follows their original plan.
Yeah, it is following their original plan, but they haven't formally announced it yet. but it's
okay.
They are releasing more DLC after the Taken King for Destiny 1 though, so I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, it's probably a game that I'll just probably download from now on. Like, I love my physical copies of games, but you're keeping your same character. It's kind of, they're doing the Mass Effect thing where you take your whole character through all 3 or 4 games.
Oh, that's cool.
Gotcha.
So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's technically going to be called Destiny 2, but from what it looks like, you can add on that second full game when it ends up coming out straight to your first game, and it's not going to affect anything. But
So is it going to be called Destiny 2 Combat Evolved? But
no,
I mean, is this
it actually already has a subtitle.
Does it
the
really?
second game? Yeah.
Wow.
In the rumor that I read, because Brian and I are doing this Destiny show, and we're exploring all the different topics we could talk about, and that was one of the ones I came up with a couple days ago. I found it, but I don't know.
Is this a good time? Like someone like me, or even Matt, like we didn't hop on the Destiny train, and now like all the people on my friends list have already played through it. They've already done everything, but now this DLC is coming out. They're pretty much rewriting the game, in a sense. Redoing all the vocal work and adding things and all that, adding lines of dialogue. And is this a good time for me to hop in now and just sort of kick off now?
Yes. This is a perfect time to jump in, because when the Taken King comes out, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet or not, but somebody was saying that there's an automatic leveling system up to level 30, which the level cap will be at 40 when the Taken King comes out.
Okay.
So you can jump right into the raids and the Nightfalls, and you don't have to level up your character. Now, they are changing some of the leveling to where it's all experience now and not just the light system, where
thank God.
Yeah, so you can level up
that.
That's
I know. It's so annoying. Like, you get gear that you want to level up, and when you apply it, like, I got this helmet the other day, and I was 34, which is the level cap now. I put this helmet on, and it dropped me to 31 because I have to level up this helmet now.
Oh,
okay. And it's
That's stupid.
Yeah, it's really
puzzling.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I love Bungie, but this was a dumb decision.
Yeah, that's what I had to sell the game, just because I got to level 20, and I did not want to put in all that grinding just to get random loot that you don't even know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and they're fixing all these issues with the Taken King. They're, level 1 to 40 is all experience based. Your armor will level up on its own accord, to where you can increase its strength, its defense, stuff like that. And then, where was I going with this? There's something else that they're changing too. Oh, Brant, your problem was you didn't know what you were going to get.
Yeah.
Well, Bungie's putting this system in place where, it keeps track of what you've received loot-wise to drop better items for you, to where you won't get duplicates as much.
So the game knows when you need to get a certain item to maybe level up, or
the game knows what weapons you have, what roles those weapons have, and you have a less chance of getting duplicates. Now, they are saying you will still get duplicates, but it's going to happen way less often than it does now.
Yeah.
Well,
See,
that's good news.
That'll make me interested in jumping back in if I ever do. If all that stuff's fixed, like you said.
And Corey, you're playing it on PlayStation 4, right?
I am.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, okay, guys, before we get into our topic of the week, let's kind of talk about what we've been playing. Brant, let's start with you, man. What have you been playing lately?
Oh, man, I don't know. Well, I guess you guys haven't been able to play it, but Corey, Galax Z, have you heard of this?
I have. Isn't it that, kind of...
It's like...
it's like Galaga, but side-scroll-ish?
Yeah, Galaga, Asteroids... an adventure type of game set in space. It's inspired by, anime of the 80s. It's just, it's so good. I wasn't not expecting this game to be that good, but the combat and the upgrades, it's procedurally generated, and you upgrade all your weapons. It's just awesome. So much fun with that game. I recommend anybody to try it out who has a PS4. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It sounds kind of like an RPG-ish, RPG light R-type game.
Yeah, and then
with weapons.
Yeah, the art style. I mean, you have your pilot. He's in the bottom left corner. It always has his picture on. Then when you fight enemies, their pictures come up, and it's awesome because when you fire your lasers, it'll like show in his screen, and then when you boost, he'll like pull back in the chair. And I mean, it's got all the charm. Awesome. Yeah.
Now, is there anything else you've been playing lately?
Oh man, I've been. It's funny. Eli found Fat Princess on my PS3.
Oh yeah.
For some reason, he started playing that. I'm like,
that's
what
hilarious.
Are you doing? Yeah, he's just fine. I need to probably lock some of these games off from.
Right, you probably should put that parental lock on
Dead
there.
Nation or something.
That might be a problem.
I said, okay, I'll play some of this with you, and it's
That's
utterly
funny.
ridiculous, but it's just funny.
What about you, Corey? What have you been playing lately, man?
Besides a ton of Destiny, I actually busted out my PS2. We were talking before the show, and with all this Final Fantasy 12 remake stuff, I actually played that for maybe a half hour, and that game, like, I know it's an old game, but the mechanics and the ideas that they had in that game were great. They just weren't fully executed, and I wonder if they can, like, really realize their vision for this game if they do decide to remake it. But I played a little bit of that, and I actually just got a PSN card to download N++ because I'm super excited for that.
That's a good game.
And then I've just been playing some virtual console stuff, Mario Brothers 2 to be exact, because it's just one of those games where it was the first Mario game I ever played, and I just love playing through it maybe once or twice a year just to play through it again. So that's kind of what I've been playing. And Splatoon, because it's Splatoon and it's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing a lot of Splatoon myself. Putting a little bit of time in here and there. Just these small little matches on my lunch break and things like that. I'm really enjoying that. Like I said, I need to hop on there now because I haven't played since the update came out on Wednesday. So I'm going to hop in there either tonight after we're done, if it's not too late, or maybe tomorrow. And play a little bit of that. So that should be a good time. I also been playing. Well, actually, I just finished Life is Strange episode 4. Wrote that review. It's up on the Digital Nerd Advocate, so guys, check that out. Because I know, Corey, you put that up for me, so that's awesome.
It is. Just went up. Really good review.
Yeah, it was really good.
You have me really interested in that series.
Well, I am tantalizing you with my words.
You're very presumptuous with your words.
Right. I mean, I'm really loving Life is Strange. It's a really good game. It's just every time there's an episodic series, there's always like a bad chapter. Doesn't matter what series it is, there's always a bad chapter. And chapter 4 is just kind of like the low point. But it's still a good chapter because they give you like a lot of really good plot points in it. They just made a lot of mistakes. The other thing I've been playing Rare Replay. Picked that up. Been playing a little bit of that. Of all the games on there, I've been hopping through. Like I tried to start with the old ones and kind of play some of the old ones, and I played a little bit of Banjo. I thought I was gonna love Jet Force Gemini because honestly, that was like one of my favorite games on N64.
So much fun back
I
in the day.
loved it, but it just doesn't hold up very well. Playing it again, like the control schemes, and this is kind of a problem with Rare Replay. Well, it keeps the games in the original format, which is good and bad because it's awesome because it's like a video game history book. You can go back and play all these games they're originally intended, but because the old games, we've evolved so much over time, video games, wise, a lot of these games have really odd control schemes, and like the camera will be inverted, and you have no way to change it. Like there's a lot of little strange things in there that kind of hamper it, and like a lot of the N64 games have frame rate issues and things like that. They're patching a lot of it, but it's not all the games hold up as well as I'd hoped. The game I'm actually playing a lot of right now, which I'm surprised it's my favorite game on the disc, and I already played it back to the launch of 360. That's Cameo Element of Power. That game I'm just playing it again. I'm like, I love this game. It's such a fun game. It's not very long. It's very short. It's like 6 or 7 chapters. It's a pretty small game because it was a launch title. But they had a sequel being made, and it just never got made. So that's kind of disappointing. But that brings up another cool thing about Rare Replay. As you play games, you unlock stamps. And once you fill up a stamp card, which I think is like 5 per card, it unlocks new video. And each video is like interviews with current and past Rare employees, and they tell you how certain games were made. Like there's one that's made just on Banjo. They tell you about games that were canceled. They talk about like future projects. It's really cool. It just tells you about the history of Rare. It's actually really neat. But
yeah.
Didn't they come out and say they're patching in modern controls for Jet Force Gemini?
Yeah, they actually patched it recently. It's made it a little bit better, but I mean it's not great, but it actually fixed it. It did help a little bit. But they said they're going to continue to patch it and fix it, so we'll see. But
you know what? I'm kind of surprised, like, kind of going off subject a little bit here, but the way Rash is featured on the front of Rare Replay, I'm so surprised they didn't announce a new Battletoads game. Like, he's so big on the cover of this box, because I just bought it like a day ago, and I just unwrapped it right before the podcast tonight, because I'm going to pop it in and play it a little bit tonight before I go to bed. But, man, I want a new Battletoads game now.
It has to be on the way because, I mean, there's 2 Battletoad games on that disc. Battletoads were in Shovel Knight. Battletoads have been added to Killer Instinct. Now that Microsoft has that IP, they're going to put it in everything they can, and I really think they will make a new Battletoads game. It's on the way. Maybe it'll be next summer, like Spotlight game or something. Who knows? But
doesn't Rare have like 2 or 3 teams? Like, I know one of them worked on Rare Replay, and the other one is working on
Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves. So maybe this team will work on Battletoads now.
Yeah, you never know. Mm-hmm. But Matt, what about you, man? What have you been playing? Mostly Rare Replay.
I finished Black Flag,
awesome.
which was awesome. I mean, the ending of it. All you guys have finished that game, right?
I have not, but that's okay.
Even though it's my favorite, I haven't finished it.
It is the best game.
Yeah.
I definitely I think it's my favorite too. The end was like, I'm trying to figure out where they're going with the story. I like what they did because of the fact that I'm confused. Like, it's weird to say that. They could have just kept it standard Templars versus Assassins, but it seems like with what happened at the end with who appeared in one of the last memories, or not memories, when you were back in the present time, who appeared to you, it makes it seem like now Juno is at work, and so I'm kind of interested in that universe now. I got to see what happens in Unity, but that was awesome. I played some Smash Brothers. I didn't get a chance to get in a tournament, but I got the update and everything. I was playing some Smash Brothers and stuff, and then I played a lot of Rare Replay. Rare Replay, I think it's because I haven't played the games, but I'm actually really loving it. Like, when I was going through, I actually went through them chronologically. Like, I'm not going to go to, I told myself I'm not going to go to any game specifically. I'm just going to play from the beginning. So I played the original, like, what is it, Jetpack and like all those critic games. I love how they got that rewind function. Yeah, it feels like cheating, but if you're playing like an old arcade game and you want to just see how far you can make it, it's fun for like half an hour. And that's something I think the first, like, not every game is that great. There's some really bad ones, but the first probably 10 or 12 games that are that way, where they're like really arcadey, they're fun if you just want to pop them in and challenge yourself. And once you get to like the N64 games, I agree some of the camera controls are a little bit off. I haven't tried Jet Force Gemini yet. Once I got to Conkers, I just like kept playing that like crazy. I love Conkers. Like, that's my favorite one.
I am the great mighty Pooh.
It's great.
Yes, you are.
I'm about halfway through that. Banjo is awesome, but I will say, I agree with you guys. Battletoads, never played it before in my life. Never even heard of it until like a year ago, which is weird, but I don't know. Played the NES one. I'm like, that's one of the best beat 'em ups I've ever played in my life.
It's
like, even
really
going back to it now,
but it's good.
I love how I didn't make it very far because I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I love how at the end of the first level you fight a boss and all of a sudden it like turns and it's pointing at you and you got to throw those things that it shoots at you at it. It reminded me of Turtles in Time in the SNES version where you had to throw the foot ninja at him. But then, like, the next level, you're, like, going down, hanging onto a rope or something. Like, it's, like, all these different creative ways to mess with the beat-em-up. And I'm like, they could really do a good beat-em-up now. I think the reason they've waited so long in Battletoads is because beat-em-ups now, unless they're side-scrolling and downloadable titles, they're hard to make really well. Like, it's hard to make a $60 beat-em-up
Dragon's Crown. That's the best beat-em-up you'll ever play.
Ooh, I'll check that one out. Yeah. But I could see with them working on it, making some sort of 3D world, or maybe they go back to the 2D world. I don't know. But Battletoads, wow. I did the arcade one, and that was awesome, too. Like, I'm like, those are my favorite games on that whole collection. I haven't gotten to Cameo or anything yet. But
I think you'll enjoy it when you get there. I mean, it's just a fun little platform. Well, it's not really a platformer. It's just like an action-adventure kind of game, but it's cool. I like it a lot. But I guess with that, guys, we're going to hop into our topic of the week, our summer game series. And I know, Brant, you're a PlayStation guy. You never really got into Halo. So, you said you want to sit out on that.
I have zero intellect into these Halo games. So
it's
you
okay,
probably don't want me there.
We'll let you sit out on this. So I guess real quick, Cortana, get him out of here. No. Okay, guys, now that Brant is out of here, we can all sort of relax a little bit. And we'll get into our topic of the week of Halo. I know I brought both you guys on here tonight because I know you are both huge Halo fans. We were actually setting up our summer game series. We picked out a lot of games that are coming out this year that had a pretty big impact. And another thing we did, we said, okay, with Brant, myself, and you, Matt, we said, let's pick like our favorite series that we can talk about. I know Brant did Final Fantasy, I picked Star Fox, and you picked Halo. So I know you had a lot of this knowledge. But we'll kick things off. We'll talk about the start of Halo. The first Halo released November of 2001, November 15th, 2001, on the Xbox. This was like the go-to Xbox game. I know it also came out on PC later. When it hit PC, I think Gearbox actually worked on the PC version, if I'm not mistaken.
And it had extra multiplayer levels, which were awesome.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Matt. Just hit us with a little bit of the story of Halo 1.
Well, actually, 16 days prior to the release of the game, the book, The Fall of Reach, came out.
Oh, really?
Which a lot of people don't remember, but it actually came out before the game. And it basically, everybody who knows anything about games knows that Halo is about the Master Chief and his quest against the Covenant and ultimately against the Flood. And that's pretty much what the first game is about. But, like, where he comes from, I think actually with the release of Halo 5, they're going to make an animated series by Steven Spielberg, and it's releasing the Fall of Reach, which basically retells this first book. And I would say for anybody out there who's interested in the Halo universe, especially understanding who these people are in Halo 5 and everything, like this book is one of the best sci-fi books, let alone just the fact that it's a Halo book ever written. And it was basically the story of how the Spartans came to be. Essentially, you got Dr. Halsey, the famous lady doctor, who goes and with Captain Keyes and visits all these kids, and when they're 6 years old, and ends up stealing them, and they train them on Planet Reach for a while. There's a lot of really awesome moments in there as far as like John kind of gaining a leadership role amongst all the kids. There's only about 75 that get recruited initially, but by a little bit later, after a bunch of enhancements that have gone wrong, only about 33 survive. So there's a lot of different things that happen there. That's before the humans ever meet the Covenant, and this takes place in the future in the 2500. About 2517 or so is when the book starts. 2525 is when they run into the Covenant, and 2552 is when Halo 1 takes place. And this is all a prequel, basically, but essentially throughout the book, the Spartans are found to be some of the best fighters against the Covenant, and a few characters are actually lost, which is pretty dramatic. In the end, they discover this like map of some kind when they're attacking a Covenant planet, and Captain Keyes actually kind of gains his rank through making some great maneuvers. And then eventually John and Kelly, who is known as the fastest Spartan and one of the best friends, I guess, of John, and Sam, who actually, Sam actually passes away in that book, but Linda, who's the best sniper, and I think Fred is the other one. Yeah, sorry, spoilers.
Right.
I think Fred, who is the other character in Halo 5, he's in there along with a few other, like several others who don't quite make it through all the books. But they kind of establish themselves as a blue team, and then there's red team, and but basically, I'm trying to get through it really quickly because there's a lot in there. I don't want to spoil too much. But by the end, they come back to Reach, and it turns out that the Covenant had followed them to Reach, and that's kind of why Reach actually gets attacked. So for those of you who played any of those games, that's why it gets attacked.
Gotcha.
Ultimately, John, Linda, and another Spartan who ends up passing on this, they have to go out to like a satellite or something like that to get some nav data recovered. I think it was a destroyed ship, and all the other Spartans go towards the planet Reach. After that, Chief, who gets a hold of Cortana, who was designed specifically for a mission before they ever got attacked at Reach, where they were going to go see if they could track down a prophet and win the war that way. They actually have to flee in the Pillar of Autumn, and that's where Halo 1 starts. So,
okay.
I know it was kind of all over the place there, but it's a really good animated series, guys.
Let me get my map out. Hold on.
Yeah. I was going to say, but I'm assuming it'll be a great series, and that's something worth watching. But then, Halo 1 came out.
Real quick, I just want to say, Corey, have you read any of the books, or have you only played through the games? I'm just curious.
I read Fall of Reach right before Reach came out. So, I mean, that's the only one I've read, but I read the comic, that first comic that came out was pretty good.
Okay.
But that was so long ago, I barely remember. But then I bought that giant encyclopedia right before Reach came out. So I have that, and I flipped through that. But mostly just the games for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, and for me, just to let you guys know where I'm at, our listeners, I played through Halo 1 on the 360 when it was backwards compatible with Xbox. When I played through it with Matt, we co-op through it, Halo, I played through Halo 2. Halo 2 is probably my favorite, and then I played through Halo 3, but that's it. I haven't played anything else Halo-wise. Never gotten around to Halo 4. My plan is to play it before the Halo 5 comes out in October. And
I will co-op that game with you, because that's my... Yeah,
definitely.
4 is my favorite.
Hey,
Halo
man,
game.
if you want to join us on
I want to play as Kelly.
If you want to join us on our Halo 3 playthrough, Matt and I are trying to get through that right now. Rob last week said he'd want to join us too and get a team of 4 together. That would be pretty awesome. But,
that'd be awesome.
And I've never played ODST or Reach. ODST I played bits and pieces of, and now I've got it because of the backwards compatibility, or not backwards compatibility, but they added it to Master Chief Collection, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But sorry, man, pick up with Halo 1, just the general story. I mean, they find this Halo ring while they're trying to escape, right?
Part of the reason they actually found that is because towards the end of the Fall of Reach book, when they had found this map on like a world where the Covenant were, before they came back to Reach, Cortana hacked into a bunch of files, because she's always this kind of nosy kind of AI, and found this map, or at least what she thinks is a map, and it pinpointed to this random star. And she's like, I'm just going to keep that in the back of my mind. And then when Reach got attacked, and then when they left on the Pillar of Autumn, they had to make a random jump to escape. She was in control of the ship at the time, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to go to this direction. So that's why they stumbled onto the Halo ring. And that map they found was like an ancient Forerunner map or something like that. That was mapping out some of the things.
Okay.
So that was kind of where there's a lot of great characters in that book that carry on. Chief Mendez is the one who trained him, and again, a lot of the Dr. Halsey, that's where she gets established.
They just kind of show up as, I guess, somewhat cameos, at least.
Yeah. Well, Halsey comes in Halo Reach, I think, and then Halo 4 later. But, after that is the game, Halo. Basically, they're on the ring. They crash land after the Pillar of Autumn goes down. The book, The Flood, that came out actually kind of tells the story of Halo 1, but it adds more to it. And essentially, the Master Chief goes on random missions trying to first get Captain Keyes and save him, and then later they're trying to figure out what this ring is all about. They find out it's an actual weapon, and they're afraid the Covenant are going to get hold of it. And then later, the big reveal in the game is that, it was a weapon designed by the ancient Forerunners. Spoilers. To stop the Flood. Right, and so then they get attacked by the Flood, and everybody who's ever played that game, you guys remember that moment when you discover the Flood, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the Flood is like my favorite part of Halo, because it almost turns it into like a horror game, because, if you're not expecting it and it comes out, and these guys, like they said, like their name implies, they just a flood of them come at you, and they're just like pretty much unstoppable. And I really like that a lot. And Corey, what about you for Halo 1? Did you play Halo 1 on the original Xbox, or were you like me and you didn't even get around to it till the 360 and the backwards compatibility?
It was the reason why I bought an original Xbox was Halo. Yeah. So like when I was younger, I had a huge group of friends who all bought Xboxes for Halo, and we would go every weekend. We would go to somebody's house, and at one point we had like 3 8-on-8 matches going at the same time at one person's house. It was insane.
That's crazy.
Like I have no idea how we could fit this many people in a basement. Like that's what we did. We grabbed like 3 cases of Mountain Dew, went over there and started just playing Halo all night. And that's kind of like the biggest memory I have. But I did play through the campaign probably 4 or 5 times with co-op with friends. It was so much fun. I loved that first game so much. until I played it about 2 months ago and realized, wow, this game's super hard and really old.
Sure.
But
yeah.
but the memories I have with friends with that game is the best part about that game.
Sure. And like with Halo 2, I mean, it was the same way. You just all got together. Because Halo 2, that wasn't the first one that had the online multiplayer?
Yeah.
Yeah, the online. Sure. And that was the first one that introduced things like you could steal vehicles and stuff, which was really cool. So you could be playing with friends and have a ghost, and then you just run and punch them off and take it from them, which was pretty awesome.
And Halo 2 didn't even come out until November 2004. So this is like 3 years after, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and one thing with Halo games, it's not like Assassin's Creed we talked about last week where it's annualized, boom, boom, boom. These are spaced out. They're all like 2-3 years apart. They've got a pretty good space in between each game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably what helps to keep them alive. That because if they would have annualized them very early on, people would have got burnt out. Kind of like what's happening with Call of Duty slowly, or Assassin's Creed maybe slowly, even though they're still super popular. But most people are getting that burnout feeling. This one though, people who hated it from the beginning still hate it. People who loved it from the beginning still love it.
Sure.
And it's not burning a whole lot of people out who loved it before.
And for me, like, I really enjoy the Halo series. I'm not like a big into the lore Halo guy like you are, Matt, or I don't know, Corey, if you're as deep into the story as Matt is, but like I enjoy them. I enjoy playing through them. They're fun adventures, especially when you co-op them. They're great. I'm more of a Gears guy personally, but I still really appreciate the Halo series. But like with Halo 2, at least as of right now, Halo 2 is my favorite. I know when it came out, there's a lot of controversy for multiple reasons. I mean, especially with the ending. But besides the ending, I'm like, you weren't Master Chief the whole game. You split off into two characters. You were the Arbiter, and you were Master Chief. And I actually really liked that. Because you got to see a different side of the other, what do you want to call it? Not really the enemies, but with that side, which that was actually pretty cool.
We'll get there later, but that's where I think Halo 3 went wrong, was it went back to just kind of a one-sided perspective, and I kind of lost touch with my enemies a little bit.
Sure.
But
yeah, and that's true. I mean, Corey, what do you think about Halo 2? Do you like Halo 2, or are you one of those guys that just wasn't a fan when it came out?
Well, when Halo 2 came out, I did not have broadband internet.
Okay.
Yet. So I didn't get to play, because all my friends ended up getting broadband internet and Xbox Live, and I ended up sitting Halo 2 out for the most part. I played a lot with friends when they would come over. We would play split screen co-op, or 4-on-4. Somebody would bring their Xbox, we'd play 4-on-4 LAN. But Halo 2 didn't really connect with me like it did a lot of people.
Okay.
Probably for that reason alone, for not being able to play online. But like the story I thought was interesting. I did like splitting the characters up. I did like seeing the Covenant's perspective in the way, like, spoilers for a 11-year-old game, where like you could actually see the Arbiter like change perspectives on the side he was fighting for. And I really enjoyed it. And the first time, like, you saw the big crawler walking through the city, and you had to jump on it with Master Chief and bomb the back of it and jump off the Scarab. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. It was so... Yeah, there's a lot of good story moments in that game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The story definitely exploded there. Kind of going back to, like, on Halo 1, after the Flood's discovered, you find out you got to destroy the ring basically to get rid of the Flood, because we know we can't let them spread. They're an infectious disease thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then Master Chief and Cortana, they end up going back to the Pillar of Autumn and rigging it to explode to destroy the ring, and they escape in a longsword. Most people don't know what happens after that and how in the world he ended up back at Earth. And it's supposed to be in the time of the events, like 2 months later or a month later or something like that. What actually happened came out in First Strike, which is around that time. It was another book. And basically, he survived in the longsword and then randomly found an escape pod with like a couple of people alive. One of them was that Johnson guy, because like nobody knows how Avery Johnson survived Halo the first ring and like made it into Halo 2. And then this other lady, and they actually found I think a cryo chamber with Linda, because Linda had gotten hurt from the end of the first book, and that's how she's like still alive. And then they stole a Covenant ship and then flew it back to Earth. So that's kind of how they survived, which also they kind of run across some weird stuff starts to happen, but it's the characters that are coming into Halo 5. It's worth talking about. In that book, it would go between like two different perspectives, and like after the fall of Reach, nobody knew what happened to but Kelly and Fred and all the other Spartans who landed on Reach. They kind of were just holding off the Covenant for a while as, you know, the Reach was falling, and they held up in Castle, which was like a big underground base, and they ran across Dr. Halsey. Well, like they found some weird crystal, and they ended up finding themselves in like this slip space thing, which kind of made time go faster for them or something like that. And so they were like in this slip space pocket until, you know, a while later when Master Chief, before going back to Earth, after he escaped the Halo ring, he flew back to Reach to see if any of his team survived, and he saved them. And then brought them back with him to Earth after they, there was like, at the end of that book, there was like a big Covenant fleet that was ready to attack Earth. And so before they went back to Earth, they went to intercept it, and they ended up destroying like most of it, which is why in Halo 2, only 12 ships were landing on Earth at the very beginning instead of like a whole fleet. But then they go back to Earth, and actually it's not really known, but when Halo 2 was going on and Master Chief was up there on the satellite talking and everything, Fred and Kelly and all those are actually on Earth. So there are other Spartans people know about in that game. But yeah, so that goes on. Then the story of Halo 2, obviously, it's back and forth. We get a glimpse of the Arbiter, who originally was the commander of the fleet that found the first Halo ring, and he got in trouble because the Halo ring exploded, and that's where they start calling the Master Chief the Demon and everything. Yeah. And he's punished, and he's made the Arbiter, which means he's supposed to do all these crazy missions and eventually die. But then he starts getting a little bit confused in his head because he's sent to get a what do they call that? What was the name of the guy who was betraying him? Like, he was telling everybody that the prophets are leading a false direction. What was the name of him?
You're asking the wrong guy. Corey, do you have any idea?
I know, Corey, if you remember.
It's been so long. Yeah, man, you know so much more of the lore than I do.
Yeah. Well, they send him, and he's after he's talking to him, he runs across 343 Guilty Spark, which is that little floating monitor from the original Halo.
343 is named after.
Yeah. And he kind of tells them a little bit like, the rings are meant to destroy. And so he starts questioning things a little bit. Yeah. But then he still kind of does some missions. Master Chief, on the other hand, is defending Earth against the invading Covenant fleet of like 12 ships. In the process, one of the ships leaves and it destroys New Mombasa, the city. And because they basically got a message from the other Covenant that they found another ring. And so they teleport straight to the Halo, I think it was ring number 5. And throughout the story, Master Chief and Arbiter, they kind of coincide. They meet each other. They run across a grave mine, which you guys remember that? The big flood?
Yep.
Creepy looking thing. Yeah, he basically what a grave mine is like after the flood exists in an area for a long time, they start to like get a hive mind with like one of the smarter minds they infest or whatever, and then over like millennia it develops into a grave mine or something like that. So it's like a really crazy thing. But the grave mine sends them to stop the prophets from firing the ring, and he sends the Master Chief one way and the Arbiter another. Arbiter ends up stopping one of the the Brutes. At the same time, the Brutes and the elites get into a civil war, and the elites don't want to support the prophets anymore. And in the books, there's a lot of great background on kind of the politics, but since the Covenant's not as important in the new, I guess they're still the enemies, but they're not as important in the new trilogy. I won't get into it. But basically, the Covenant was just like a bunch of different alien races that got together. And at this point in Halo 2, now there's like a civil war between the different races. And then Master Chief ends up back at Earth. And then that leads us into Halo 3, which, Jamie, if you want to pick up from there.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Halo 3, like I said, it came out in September of 2007. So there was a 3-year gap between Halo 2 and Halo 3. And that actually picked up from that, like I said, that long cliffhanger from Halo 2, because he pretty much he jumped on. I'm trying to remember. He pretty much, is that the one where he kicked the bomb out the side of the ship? He said, "Finishing this fight."
No, that was
Halo 2.
That was 2.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
This one he just like crash lands in the beginning.
Gotcha.
And then they're defending, like they find a small pocket of humans that are holding out against the Covenant who've invaded.
Yeah. I mean, in Halo 3, it was fine, but it's the shortest game. I mean, it just Bungie was at the end of their rope, I guess, and they're just like, you know what? We know we're not. Well, I guess at the time they didn't know they were done with Halo, did they?
Well,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Corey.
I think that they were planning their next series of games, which ended up being Destiny.
Yeah.
But their B team ended up doing ODST, and then I think they ended up doing Reach as well while they were planning stuff for Destiny, because there was that Easter egg in ODST, that poster that they took out in the Master Chief Collection version. But I think that's how it went. I could be wrong, but I think I remember that's what I read.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's about right. I remember Halo 3, the multiplayer was my favorite. 2, a lot of people remember 2 as their favorite, but I played more of 3 than any other one.
Sure. Yeah. But in Halo 3, it caps off this story, at least the original story, I should say. Halo 3 finishes the trilogy, because Halo 4 starts a brand new story, which focuses more on Cortana, right?
Right.
Yeah, well, Halo 3, I mean, the basic thing is they find that there's multiple rings out there, and the only way they can, which they tease it at the end of 2, the only way they can stop all the rings from firing is to go find the Ark. And you find out that the Covenant, when they were digging on Earth, was actually a portal to the Ark, and you later find the Ark and you destroy it by destroying the newly created ring that was supposed to replace the ring you destroyed in the first Halo. Mm-hmm. And that kind of gets 343 Guilty Spark really mad, and he attacks you at the end because he thought he was agreeing that he should fire everything because the flood is kind of spreading a little bit, but he said if you fired it now it would destroy everything, and he didn't want you to do that. In the end, Master Chief ends up floating in a ship because they don't make it all the way, at least the part of the ship he's on doesn't make it all the way back through the portal.
Yeah, I remember that.
The Arbiter survives, but the Master Chief's floating out there. At the same time, you know how I said Fred and Linda and Kelly and all those who are going to be in Halo 5, how they were actually on Earth in Halo 2?
Yeah.
Well, they, and Dr. Halsey, who was around there too, Halsey had this mission because she had retrieved information from Kelly that where this one guy who's, when you see the animated series, you're going to see him, he's kind of a jerk, but he's this guy named Ackerson, and he hated the Spartans in the Spartan 2 program, and a lot of people view them terribly. Well, he had actually snuck and started his own Spartan 3 program, which is where the Spartans from Halo Reach come from.
Okay.
And how he did that was one of the old Spartans who was found MIA, because Spartans never die; they're always MIA. His name was Kurt,
never die.
And they had found him, and all the other Spartans thought he had died, but he ended up being recruited by this guy to go to what later becomes a shield world, which is basically what the world in Halo 4 was, but not the exact same one. And he trains new Spartan 3s, and they train them for years during the Covenant Wars.
Oh, okay.
Well, then
so is that
Halsey
where
found
Locke
out about
comes
it.
From?
No, Locke is, I think, just a new character they developed who was a former ODST.
Oh, okay.
And his story is in that series they came out with.
Gotcha,
but,
sure.
But Kurt is just training new Spartan 3s under a secret thing with Ackerson. Later, I think after the ring in Halo 1, it's around the same time frame that I know it was the ring in Halo 2 when it gets started but then stalled. The shield world opens up over in that world. And Halsey and Kelly and Linda and all them and Fred had made their way over to that world, and they tracked down Kurt and they kind of ran into him. And then the Covenant were attacking at the same time, and they had to retreat into it was kind of like another slip space pocket thing where they were basically frozen there for a while. Not frozen literally, but they were in this little pocket universe and they were stuck there. And that's actually the last book I read with them.
Gotcha.
So I don't know how they got from that point to where Halsey escaped and was actually in the beginning cutscene of Halo 4, and Fred and Linda and them are now into this game. I'll have to read some of the newer books
you might
to
start
find
reading
out.
some of those books, yeah.
but by that point, there was only a few Spartans left and a few new Spartan 3s. Sure. And then I guess the new Spartan 3 program went on from there, and that's where they get them for Halo 4.
Gotcha.
But it was pretty interesting what was going on there.
Sure. I mean, and after Halo 3, because Halo 4 didn't come out until 2012. So, Halo 3 is 07, Halo 4 is 2012.
Yeah.
There was a pretty big gap in there. So what they did, we actually already talked a lot about these already. In March of 2009, they had Halo Wars, and we know... Corey, you're a big fan of Halo Wars.
I am.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And we know a sequel's coming to that, which we talked about earlier. And then same year, September of 2009, Halo 3 ODST came out. In September of 2010, Halo Reach came out. So they had these games to kind of fill in the gaps while they were making this transition between Bungie and 343. And so, like Corey, you were saying, it's kind of like that B team working on these games, so they could kind of, they still wanted to make Halo games. They wanted to end on a high note, so they made ODST and Reach. And then, of course, in 11, they had the Halo anniversary, the Halo Combat Evolved anniversary came out. So even though there weren't any major games between 7 and 12, all those years they were packed full of Halo.
Yeah. I mean, it's Microsoft's biggest franchise. I don't think they would go 5 years without a Halo game. That would be a bad decision, I think. But I think out of the three, Halo Wars was awesome, but out of those three games, I think ODST is probably the best first-person shooter game out of the series.
That was a great one.
I really liked the story. I mean, it was short. It was supposed to be an expansion to Halo 3, but then they ended up making this a full game. But I liked the story. I liked the art direction they took it. It was totally different than anything else. I liked the soundtrack. It was this weird, moody, jazzy soundtrack. You wouldn't expect from Halo.
I just remember being really dark.
It
being hard to see anything. You had to use your flashlight a lot. It was much more slow-moving Halo game.
You weren't a Spartan though. You were just a ODST Marine,
ODST,
you were
orbital drop shock trooper, right? Isn't that what that stands for? Something like that.
Yeah. Which there's some really cool references to those troopers in the universe. Sure. But go ahead.
Yeah, and then you were this human, and you actually had to hide and find health packs. You just didn't regenerate like in previous Halo games. I just thought the direction they took that game was really, really a smart, different direction, because by that point, you had all these first-person shooters that were doing the same thing that, Halo started with Halo 1. So it was cool to see them take it a different direction, and I really liked that firefight mode that they added. It was kind of like Gears Horde mode, but with Halo. I thought it was really cool.
Sure.
Yeah, which definitely improved for Halo Reach, because that was the one where most people, when they think of firefight in Halo, they usually align it with Reach. That's where a lot of people first touched it.
And why is that?
Oh, I don't know. It was popular in ODST, but I think Reach was the one that really fine-tuned it.
Sure.
Kind of like in Gears. Well, I guess Gears 2, the first one that did Horde mode, I guess that was the one that a lot of people played. But I just remember a lot of my friends, they really didn't play Firefight until Reach, and everybody got Reach for the multiplayer aspect for Firefight.
Gotcha.
Which is awesome. No, ODST was great. I loved how they went back and forth with the different characters. Like, you found these random pieces, and it was like the memory of that person in your squad until it all tied together in the end. That was cool.
And it was Nolan North again, right? Voicing, I don't know. I thought it was Nolan North again.
I don't know. I know Nathan Fillion. I know half the cast from Firefly was in that game. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Buck was in that, and he's going to be in the new Halo 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was one of the ODST guys.
Sure.
Yeah, that was Nathan Fillion's character, I think.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, that's probably who I was thinking of. But is there anything else you want to hit on those before we get into Halo 4?
Oh, on Reach, it was basically the prequel to 1 with the fall of Reach, although I think you're Spartan 3 soldiers, and you kind of run into Dr. Halsey at one point too, but the whole point of your story, at least, I liked it. I didn't like how you were kind of an unknown character. I think that was the first one I remember where, other than the rookie and ODST, which still had other really great characters, this one I felt like I wish I would have been somebody who was an official character with a name and a story and everything. Instead of just a random Spartan you created.
Gotcha.
It still was good. And then in the end, you got Cortana to the Pillar of Autumn safely. That was pretty much the whole point of that story-wise. Sure. But I don't know. What'd you think about Reach, Corey?
Now, that was one you never finished. We were talking about this before the show.
Yeah, I don't want to get I don't want to bring down the mood of the podcast, but there's this tragic event that happened in my life around that time, and I couldn't bring myself to come back to Reach. I don't know. I played a multiplayer a lot, a year later to get because when Combat Evolved came out, they added the maps to Reach, which I thought was really cool. Okay. But I never finished Reach just because of this whole situation that was happening at that time.
Sure.
Like James, I know we were talking about it before the podcast, but yeah.
No, absolutely. So let's get on to a happier note and move on to Halo 4. Yeah. Halo 4 came out November 6th, 2012. Now, like I said before, this is one I have not played yet. I think I played bits and pieces when you first got it, Matt. I was just kind of like hopping in and just trying it out. But that's one I haven't actually played through yet. But this starts a brand new trilogy. I mean, this one's more focused on Cortana, right?
Yeah, well, Cortana and just kind of the journey. It's setting up the new kind of enemy, which I don't know if this enemy carries over into Guardians. I'm assuming it does, because when I talk here in a second about the ancient Forerunner, the Guardians were actually people who were like kind of big, huge, colossal things that guarded cryptoms. And so that's
where the name comes from for Halo 5, then, I'm assuming.
That's what I'm assuming,
gotcha.
But they haven't revealed enough about it. That for sure. But like, basically, it's kind of like after a few years of being kind of in a cryo chamber in space in that floating ship, Master Chief and Cortana, they run across a shield world, an ancient Forerunner shield world, which is similar to the rings, except the point of the shield world was when the rings fired, it was supposed to basically save the people on that with like a giant shield around it.
Oh, okay. So it's the opposite of the other rings.
It's the opposite of the rings.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, and there was like a great trilogy that came out around this time of Halo 4, and it was called the Forerunner Saga, I think. Okay. And it had 3 books in it, and it told the ancient stories of the Forerunner. And before the Forerunner, there was things called precursors, and a lot of this I think will play into the new game. So I just want to like talk about it a little bit, but like, it follows the story of this guy named Bombsteller, who was a Forerunner, and the Forerunner society was really hierarchical. It's basically a caste system. At the top was the master builders, the people who like constructed everything the Forerunners wanted. In the middle was the life workers, the people who like protected life, and at the bottom was the warriors. And like literally, they said the lowest life worker was higher ranking than the highest warrior. Well, the Didact, who's kind of like your main enemy in Halo 4, was a warrior, and he had been in a cryptum on Earth for a while. Well, this new like young Forerunner who's just like wanting to go around and explore, he runs across a human named Chakas and another one, and they like open up the cryptum that this Didact is stored in, and he was the Didact who actually fought against humans. Because apparently, way back in the day, humans were like this big, huge, dominant force, and they were equal to the Forerunner, and they fought each other and hated each other. And the precursors, who were like the even more ancient civilization, had been wiped out. Well, like, humans were defeated by the Forerunner because at the same time, they were fighting against the Flood, and the humans had invented a cure against the Flood, but no one ever found out what that was because the Forerunners wiped out the humans before they ever got a chance to find the cure. And then the humans are kind of de-evolved or whatever. And this like thousands of years later, well, the Didact who had fought against them, he had been in that cryptum all those like 10,000 years. Now he's like all angry because he knows the Master Builders are going to get ready for these rings because the Forerunners are still kind of fighting the Flood in small levels, and it's increasing. Basically, by the end of the first book, they launch the rings and it destroys like most of the Forerunner like higher ups. The second book was really weird, and it was just on a ring, and it was that human Chakas from the first book. But the only interesting thing about it was by the end he gets absorbed and his conscience gets put into a little robot, which later becomes 343 Guilty Spark.
Okay.
So
wow,
343 Guilty Spark.
There's a lot of detail into this.
There is. There's a lot of tie-ins.
My gosh.
And then the third book was the one where it kind of revealed what happens at the end, and essentially the librarian who you kind of see in Halo 4 a little bit, she leaves you a couple things, like a couple messages. She was constantly fighting against the Didact, who wanted to avenge his, whatever happened and fight against the humans again. He like hates humans, which is why he appears in Halo 4 and all of a sudden just starts attacking you. And he had invented this thing, which is in Halo 4, where it like absorbs humans and turns them into his Promethean fighters. And that's what's the big thing you fight against, or that you see at least in Halo 4. And they're also fighting the Flood, though, and by the end of the book, they reveal that thousands of years earlier, when the precursors were still around, there was this thing called the Mantle of Responsibility, which is basically like, hey, who's going to be the civilization that's responsible for all the others in the universe or the galaxy? They were going to give it to the humans, and the Forerunners got ticked off, and so they attacked the precursors and wiped them out, and using like whatever weapons they could, and the precursors vowed vengeance and became the Flood, And so they came back thousands of years later. The flood is basically the precursor civilization to the Forerunners and the humans.
That's crazy.
And they came back with like a vengeance, and they said they came back in a form which they're taking vengeance on every civilization that exists. And so, yeah, there's a lot of complexity here.
Yeah,
but
man, that's crazy.
Essentially,
that's what you get for being a history teacher and loving Halo.
Yeah. But what it pulls into was the Didact appears as your enemy in Halo 4. Like you come across the shield world as the Master Chief in Cortana, and you accidentally open the cryptum that he was stored in a second time by the librarian.
Well, that's smart.
And the librarian sends you messages, and he starts unleashing his Prometheanites, and he wants to get vengeance on humanity.
You said that's Halo 4 is what you're saying right now.
Yeah, okay. This is Halo 4's story. And in the end, I mean, spoilers for you, Jamie.
Yeah, that's okay.
So
hopefully I get around to Halo 5. We'll see.
Yeah, basically, Cortana, because one of the things in the lore about AI is they can only last so many years before they go crazy. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's been so many years because she was waiting in that ship all those years, and she's kind of to that point. They end up stopping him and destroying his I forget what it's called, but the thing that turns humans into Prometheans. And they stop the Didact, at least for now, but she dies in the process.
Okay.
So it's now just the Master Chief. And that's kind of where Halo 4 ends.
Gotcha.
It's difficult ending with her dying there.
Sure.
But, yeah.
Well, not necessarily, because, I mean, just from the different trailers and things we've seen for Halo 5, well, we'll see. Well, I mean, Corey, do you have anything to add? I mean, what do you think of Halo 4? Is that one you've enjoyed a lot? Is that one that, because it's come out later, you just don't connect with it as much because it's not Bungie anymore? What do you think?
I actually think Halo 4 might be my favorite.
Oh, okay.
Because just like from the story alone and all the updated mechanics, it still feels like Halo. But, you know, they added the sprint mechanic, which I know a lot of Halo purists don't like, but I actually liked. And then they added like all the armor abilities from Reach, which I really enjoyed. But from the story perspective, man, that ending when Cortana I had to like sit there and just like take a deep breath and like just watch. Like that was right. I totally was not expecting something like that, especially in the first game of this new trilogy or saga or whatever they're doing this time around. But I mean, I really think like the way where the story's going, I think Chief is going to try to find Cortana at any cost.
Sure.
Because throughout, I mean, you've seen it through Halo 1 through 4. Like, they have this special bond. She's not just an AI. She's his partner, his companion. Like, they have a special bond. And I think Chief is willing to sacrifice everything to find her. And I think that, like, maybe he's done something in between Halo 4 and Halo 5, and that's why Locke is hunting him down.
Sure. Yeah, we have no idea.
Yeah. Should be. Oh, and by the way, part of why the relationship is so tight with Cortana or AIs are always taken as an image from an existing human, and Cortana is the one that was taken from Dr. Halsey, who was kind of like a mother to John throughout all the training.
Okay.
So that's partially why there's that strong connection
that's crazy.
there.
Well, I guess...
yes, sir.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, man.
Oh, I was going to say, that's pretty much it. Like, so Cortana is... you know, that closely connected to somebody who was kind of like his mother and was always there. And so I'm wondering if like there's going to be another image of Halsey that was made, maybe a different Cortana. I don't know, but
yeah. Well, I
maybe.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, man.
Maybe if he like finds Cortana, maybe when he finds her, like they'll reboot her consciousness into another AI.
That's true. Could do that.
I mean, I don't know. Like you said, maybe they'll take another image of Halsey and like upload her previous consciousness into this new one so she can live for 7 more years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's also just the last thing mentioned, the whole what was that thing called where it was like multiplayer missions and there was like a story with it in Halo 4.
Spartan Ops.
Yeah, Spartan Ops, where they went into depth on the Spartan 3 program, and I forget the name of the girl who's the lead Spartan.
Sarah Palmer.
She's apparently on Locke's team. Yeah, Sarah Palmer. She's apparently on Locke's team in the new game, so that's pretty interesting there, what they built there. So there's apparently like a lot of Spartans now, but they're not as highly regarded as the original Spartan 2s, and the only Spartan 2s left are, I think, Blue Team, and there might be a couple others out there in the universe floating around. But basically the ones that we see in Halo 5 are like the only Spartan 2s left.
Huh,
so
cool. Well, I guess
that's gonna be interesting.
Real quick to kind of tie up our topic of the week, Halo 5. I mean, I know there were other games that came out through the Halo, and besides the books and the miniseries, we also had things like, Halo Spartan Assault and Halo Spartan Strike and all those other games, and the Master Chief Collection coming out recently. But right now, October 27th this year, Halo 5's coming out. I guess just to cap off this topic of the week, just give me some quick, brief thoughts, like what you want from Halo 5. I mean, Corey, I guess we'll start with you, man. Why are you excited for Halo 5? What do you want to see?
I just want to see where the story goes, and I'm really interested to see the squad-based mechanics this time around, because apparently you can issue orders to your other Spartans. You can, like, cool. And all the different Spartans, if you're playing co-op, they all have different attributes. I know you said one of them was the fastest, and one of them...
Kelly's the fastest, and Linda's the sniper, and Fred is just, I think, a good power guy.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see how that dynamic works, and I'm interested to see if they go the Chief Arbiter route, where, I want to see how Locke's story plays out, and I want to see how these two come together, and I want to see if they actually fight at the end of this game, or if they're, they end up becoming teammates or something.
Sure.
I don't know. I love Halo. I love playing Halo, especially playing through the campaigns. So I'm really excited. I already have my collector's edition pre-ordered. I want that statue of Chief and Locke. I'm
that costs a pretty penny.
Yeah.
It's worth it though, right? Absolutely worth it.
Maybe. We'll see.
Well, Matt, what about you, man? Is there anything specific that you really want to see out of Halo 5?
3 things. Good story, like kind of what Corey was talking about, where it goes back and forth. I want to see how it develops. Warzone, I definitely want to check out, and I want to see some new Red versus Blue using the new engine. Right. That's the big thing. I love Red versus Blue.
One thing I was going to mention, I don't know if either of you guys listened to it. There's a podcast that I don't know if 343 makes it or Bungie makes it. It's kind of like one of those old-fashioned radio show type deals where it tells a story, and it's called Hunt the Truth. Have you guys heard of this?
Yeah, I haven't listened to it.
Okay, because it's supposed to lead you up into Halo 5, right, Corey? I mean, isn't that what the point of the season is?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to take place between 4 and 5, and the person doing the podcast is a journalist, and he's trying to figure out, is Chief a traitor, or they're trying to figure out what is happening to Master Chief.
Got it.
And I think that's then it leads into Halo 5, and I guess we'll find out what happens. But I know it got renewed for a quote unquote second season.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So
awesome. I mean, and that's something I really want to kind of check out before Halo 5 comes. I mean, I want to finish Halo 4 and listen to the podcast if possible, because I think that'd be pretty cool to listen to, kind of get more in depth into the story. Not as deep as Matt goes, but still get some more background story. I think that'd be actually pretty cool. But
yeah, you just want to listen to those. I want to read 3 more books before I play the game.
You only have a couple months. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully you guys have enjoyed talking about Halo. I mean, this has been a pretty good time. But I think we might need to get Brant back in here. What do you guys say?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I guess you can come back.
Okay, Cortana, bring Brant back.
Oh.
Do you feel better now?
I feel rejuvenated. Matt showed me a good time with that rare replay there.
Right.
Well, that didn't sound right at first.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of our summer game series, everything we talked about with Halo. And also, Corey, thanks for coming on the show, man. Hopefully you've enjoyed being here.
Man.
It's the 3rd time, so.
Yes, thank you.
I know. I enjoy myself every time I'm here. I love you guys so much. Every time you say, hey, the podcast's up, it's automatically playing. I'm just I know I'm listening to it right now.
Right.
So, I mean, you're
doing
Assassin's
awesome stuff too, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thanks. I mean, it's hard to carve out time for all this stuff, but it's fun. We talked about it on our last show with Alan.
It was a good episode.
Just have fun with this. There's no reason to do it if you're not having fun, and that's kind of what I'm doing it for. So, well, I think that's what we're all doing it for.
No, absolutely. And sort of let our listeners know, what are all the different projects you've got going right now with Digital Nerd Advocate stuff?
Oh boy, well, we put out a few test shows. We did DNA Roundtable, which I know probably a lot of people watch the kind of funny stuff. So that's kind of like what our inspiration was for that, where we all just kind of bring a random nerdy topic to the table and just kind of discuss it for a while. We actually read your question on the first episode. Yes. So, but we have that, which we're trying to get some time to do that. We're doing DNA Weekly Strike, which is our Destiny show that we talked about earlier. It's just a little half-hour show where Brian and I just talk about Destiny stuff. We're doing Retro Rewind, which is I did a couple by myself just to get a feel for it, but it's our retro show where we're going to play some of the games that really inspired us growing up and why we love this hobby today. You know, they could be great. They could not hold up at all. You know, Battletoads is a great example. We have a couple of those going up. So there's that. And then our podcast, which, you know, has been going on. I think we're at episode 15. So.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Well, let our listeners know, man, where can people find you?
You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube at the DNA Network. You can find all of our content on digitalnerdadvocates.com, where you can watch all of our shows, our Let's Plays, read all of our reviews and opinion pieces. I know Bremy, who you had on a couple weeks ago, he's been working with us a little bit, and we're actually revamping the whole editorial section of the website.
Oh, okay.
Me and him together, so check that out. We also have a Nintendo show planned, him and I, so cool. Stay tuned for that. And, you know, we created a DNA community page, which I know you guys are very involved in, you know, where we encourage people to share their content. So that's just facebook.com/groups/DNA community page. If you have content you would like to share, pop in that group, share it. A lot of people watch it, like it, read it, you know, anything you have, we like to have it. And then you can follow us on Twitter at DN Advocates, and you can follow me on Twitter at RogueSpartan4.
Awesome. Well, like I said, thank you again for coming on the show, man. We loved having you here.
Always a good time.
Matt, where can people find you, sir?
At Twitter at cpunkrock07, and if you want to add me on Xbox, it's xmightymatt14x. And yep,
awesome.
Those are the two places.
What about you, Brant? Where can people find you?
On Twitter, I'm at _the_Brant, and on PSN -the_Brant, and yep, I'll play awesome times.
Awesome. Well, you guys know you can find me.
Rocket League, yep.
That's right. Gotta play Rocket League. Although it's coming to Xbox. Yeah. Hopefully I'll get. Well, it's hopefully.
Oh yeah.
Xbox. We'll
You'll
see.
get in on the goodness.
Get my hands on that. Well, you guys know you can find me on Twitter at James+12. I'm also on Twitch and Xbox, Jamester0722. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to follow the Life of Gaming podcast on Facebook. We're also on Twitter at Life of Gaming Pod. And make sure to go on iTunes and rate us. That would be awesome. We're also on the Microsoft MP3 store, and you can find us on SoundCloud. So, and our YouTube page. Can't forget our YouTube page. Make sure to subscribe to that. So we are all over the place. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed our summer game series. We are continuing next week with Mario. We're actually having Mark from the Warp Whistle back on the show to discuss Super Mario. So that should be awesome. Make sure to check that out. But until next time, guys, we are out.
Bye.
Later.
See ya.